Hi everyone, my name is Gadoni Methu and I'm the membership lead, and welcome to our third webinar. We've had two webinars running throughout the week, the month actually of February and March. And the first two were discussing importing fees, EPR regulations, what is expected from you. And today we want to get a bit technical in terms of what exactly is going to be expected of each one of you as we go through EPR and plastic clearance throughout the year. So once again, karibuni sana to the plastic clearance webinar. My name is Gadoni Methu. I will be taking you through, and I'll just give an overview of the program. So we will have a video that just sort of introduces who PAKPRO is to you, those of you who are part of PAKPRO, those of you who are not. It'll be good for you to just have a snapshot of what and who we are and what we do for you. Then we will go into the roles. I'll do a recap in terms of the past few weeks, as well as a regulatory framework. Then we'll jump into Sydney, who a number of you have engaged with, who is our compliance officer, who will take you through step by step what is expected for you in terms of licensing. And then after that, we will go through the rules and regulations in terms of what should happen to you throughout the year. So I will have our technical committee please share the screen, and then we can have a video. As they set that up, I can actually do the recap in terms of where we've come in. I've seen a question come in to say that you only received the invitation a few hours to the event. My apologies for that, Bernard Nyasimi. We have been sending out these invitations for the past month, so maybe it just came to your desk. However, we gave out the schedule for these invitations from the first event, which was 2 weeks ago. So apologies for this not coming to you. However, just for your information, we have one more event next week to finalize our series that's been running this month. So a recap in terms of what is expected of us in this season is one, each company is required to have a producer registration certificate. Now, this is a basic identification for any producer who who puts product into the market. So this is a license that happens on the NEMA portal, and that this is then required that you must have this, and this is going to be reviewed. The second thing you need is a plastic clearance license. Now, this goes hand in hand with your PRO membership that allows you to get your plastic clearance license. And this is for an entity that uses flexible plastics, whether you're importing, whether you're using it in the industry, or whether you actually put your product and sell it into market. The next thing that you need is your import certificate. Now, this is something that has just started, and as every good that is imported into the market will be paying 150 shillings at the port of entry. So last week we spent a lengthy amount of time with the authority, as well as with someone from the Ports Authority, just to ensure that we all appreciate what is required of you. So anytime you have a consignment number, you will be submitting this. Then lastly, you need to pay your EPR fees. These are fees that are charged to every producer at the end of the month from the total volume of products that you put into the market. So when you join a PRO, every month you will submit your fees, your monthly volume, and then you will be charged based off our EPR fee rate. Now, on a policy and enforcement level, there are currently two inspections that are running. So the first one is at all the retailers have been asked and charged by the authority to ensure that they do not receive any new supplies for any entity that does not have a January clearance certificate. What this means is that you should have submitted your EPR, your volume to your PRO, and that you should then have issued out either a purchase order or actually paid for that volume and received a clearance certificate for January. So all retailers are currently inspecting and will not have any of your goods received. Now, this exercise started yesterday, and last week on the 2nd of March, NEMA actually carried out an exercise where they inspected different retailers' HQs to check the stocks that they have. So they will not take down product from the shelf. However, NEMA will then engage to see that, to check and verify that if there is any entity that has supplied material to the supermarket and they do not have their clearance certificate for January, then the retailer is subject and liable to pay a penalty. So if you receive any information that the expectation is that you must have your January clearance certificate. Now, this exercise is going to be repeated throughout the year. And so you can expect at the end of March, NEMA will be checking to see that every entity has submitted their February clearance certificates. So we'll skip a month, then come April, they'll check that every entity has their March clearance certificate. So right now, the inspection is for January. Now, there is a second inspection that is happening, which is at the producers, at the factories. So last week, the authority began inspecting PAKPROs, and we started with the board directors. And this week, they have engaged with PAKPRO board directors, and they will be doing spot checks with a number of our members. So they could come to your facility. When they come to your facility, we've already seen 5 inspections happening. They expect you to submit the following. 1, your producer certificate, which you receive from NEMA, or your acknowledgement letter. However, there should be evidence that you have already engaged with the authority to follow up on your producer certificate. Now, as members of PAKPRO, we have been engaging on your behalf to ask the authority for those of you who have not received your producer certificates. Secondly is your plastic clearance license. Many of you use shrink wrap in your facilities to wrap your products for wholesale distribution. So each one of you is required to have a plastic clearance license that was issued and is valid for 12 months. So make sure you do not have a plastic clearance exemption from the previous season, which was valid for 36 months. So if you have a plastic clearance license that is valid for 36 months, those particular license became invalid on August 30th. And every entity is required to have a new plastic clearance that's issued through the licensing portal. Now, the other thing you need is, of course, you'll show your PRO membership certificate, because that's also the only way to get your plastic clearance license. So those are the first 3 licenses you need. Now, from our confirmations with the other inspections, you are actually required to have 2 other clearance certificates, which is 1, the December or the 2025 clearance certificate. That shows that you're compliant for 2025 and you've paid your EPR fees to the PRO, and then 2, your January clearance certificate. So kindly make sure that you have submitted all your volume and at the very least have issued a purchase order to the PRO for us to facilitate your clearance certificates for the above 5. Now, before we get into just the technicalities of what is expected at each stage, I will see if there are any questions just based off those. Is there any question or clarification? Yes, Maurice. Maurice's hand is up. So if Maurice Onyando, if you can unmute your mic, I think you should be able to. Maurice Onyando, Zaki. Yes, thank you, Maurice.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yesterday I had some officers from NEMA, and where I had a problem was that of the registration certificate, because actually I was among the first people who applied for that registration when it was still manual. To date, I've not received my certificate, and it has always been like, if you have the acknowledgement letter, you are covered. But then now the officers were demanding the actual license, which we have not received to date. And the other thing was the plastic packaging is a converter. And for converters, we've been getting the payment on an annual basis. So the monthly clearance certificate has not been the way, but now when they came yesterday, they asked for that also, even though I appreciate Sydney moved very fast to facilitate that when they asked. But if that is now the way forward going, even for the converters, then it needs to be clear that we are supposed to be getting it on a monthly basis, as you are saying. So just clarify on that, whether it's now for all both the converters and the users, or it is only for the users.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll take Supriya's hand and then respond to both of them. So Supriya Guptan, you can unmute your microphone.
Yeah, in fact, my query is on the 2025 clearance certificate when you're talking about this one. Until then, we were with NEMA directly. We were not engaged with PAKPRO or any of this plastic clearance licenses or anything through any agencies. So what do you mean by that? Because I have a factory facility where I do not wish to have any interventions like this with any officers or anybody, like how he mentioned just now, like, officers coming and then we don't want a situation. So could you please clarify on that one?
Okay. What kind of producer are you? Are you a converter or a brand owner?
It's actually a brand owner, and this one we use shrinks, and then we are the water bottling facility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just to clarify on that, Bernard Nyasimi. You can unmute yourself. Bernard, the microphone is ready for you to unmute. Okay, I can respond. Okay, yes, Bernard.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute my mic. You are also not audible enough. Maybe you can add your volume a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, quick question was, you've said that we need to have clearance on a monthly basis. We already paid the fees for a year, and we've gotten the certificates, the NEMA certificates, a certificate from you, and also the end producer certificate.
Okay.
Why a monthly necessary?
Alec, okay, thank you. So
Okay.
I'll answer the three questions, and then we'll get a snapshot into
Please be audible. Be audible.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. So one is, if the authority visits your facility, kindly give us a call just to notify us in case there should be any challenges that you face during the inspection. So the authority is mandated to ensure that every entity is compliant with EPR. And what compliance with EPR and the plastic packaging materials licensing means, or the regulations, is that one, you should have all your licenses. So we'll go through what the licenses are. And then two, you should sustain the compliance by paying monthly fees to that organization. So in the past, to answer your question, Supriya, the past, since the plastic bags ban, every producer would apply for an exemption, and part of that exemption required you to demonstrate to the authority a take-back mechanism that you had. So NEMA would give you a license and expect you to report back to them saying, this is what we have done. So what ended up happening, and this is actually how one of the PROs was formed, is that you needed to have a collective scheme that ensures that there's take-back mechanisms happening for your packaging across the country. So there was no regulation for that, and that's sort of why it was a bit not heavily regulated or heavily enforced. So what would happen is at the end of the year, you would apply for, of three years, you would apply and renew. So come December 2024, the authority, or sorry, the Cabinet Secretary gazetted the plastic packaging materials regulations. And this then made it mandatory for every entity to establish a take-back scheme, either individually or collectively. Now, PAKPRO is a collective scheme, and that collective scheme then works on your behalf to ensure that all the flexible plastic packaging you put in the market is recovered through a take-back scheme where we have a compensation system for the waste pickers. We have collection points or buyback centers across the country. We have recycling and end-of-life treatment for the packaging, and we can report this back to you and to the authority. So because the regulation was gazetted in 2024, starting last year, NEMA is checking that you are actually compliant with that collective system. Now, a number of organizations did not know this, and that's why we've spent a lot of time trying to create awareness that people would know these are the expectations required of them. And there's a difference between what was happening in the first few years before and what is happening post 2024 when the law was gazetted. Okay, so what that means for the 2025 clearance is that you are expected to have paid monthly fees for last year. What was challenging with last year is that because of the import fee and a number of other clauses in the regulations, there was a lot of judicial proceedings throughout the year that had conservatory orders towards the implementation of EPR. However, towards the end of the year, the court order was vacated, meaning that companies were then required to pay EPR fees, and at the very least for the period beyond which. And so each company needs to have demonstrated submission of EPR fees for 2025. Okay, now if you are a converter, yes, our converters do not pay EPR fees because they sell to other brand owners, and the brand owners then put product in the shelf, and so they pay monthly EPR fees. We had issued an annual converter clearance. However, we will just adjust and give you the monthly one and have you have for the entire year because you are already compliant. So for this particular case, we've engaged heavily with the authority to clear you. We believe there was a number of areas that may not have been clear to the authority, and we're working to support you in that. So the same thing for the acknowledgement letter, and that's why I mentioned earlier that we, for all PAKPRO members, we have been pursuing this follow-up with the authority on your behalf for those who have acknowledgement letters. When you register as a producer, you automatically get an acknowledgement letter as the authority is reviewing your application. And once they're done, within 21 days, you should be able to receive your producer registration certificate. However, there were some challenges and we've seen a delay, and we've gotten confirmation from the authority that they're clearing those. So Sydney on the compliance desk has been following up with that and will continue to follow up with that on your behalf. So should you face any challenges, kindly call our compliance desk, and Sydney will just share his number. So that being said, that is why you need to pay monthly fees. So in your PRO, you have annual fees, which are licenses that you get. So you get a membership certificate that you pay for annually. You get a plastic clearance license that you pay to NEMA annually. You have your import fee certificate that you pay every time you're importing material. And then you have your producer registration that you paid for at the beginning, and is a one-off fee. However, throughout the year, every entity must pay EPR fees if you are a brand owner, meaning you put product on the shelves. I hope that is clear. We'll take a break from that short Q&A, and that is the recap from the last few sessions. And I'll just have us watch the video and then go through the steps and then open it up once more for questions. That's okay. Okay, so I'll have Charity share the video and then we can continue.
Every day in Kenya, we buy water, juice, cooking oil, snacks. We unwrap, we pour, we use. And when we are done, the packaging remains. It doesn't just disappear. It either clogs our rivers and drains, or it becomes income for someone. The difference is not luck. The difference is systems. And that's where PAKPRO comes in. PAKPRO, the Packaging Producer Responsibility Organization, works to ensure used packaging is collected and managed responsibly. From everyday bottled glass to specialized materials that require safe handling, we connect the companies that put products on the market with the people who collect, sort, and recycle after use. We help turn used packaging into opportunity. Across Kenya, PAKPRO supports over 300 waste aggregators, more than 6,000 waste pickers, recovery networks across dozens of counties. Since 2018, more than 54,000 tons of PET have been recovered. Over KES 210 million has flowed into the recycling value chain. That money supports families, pays school fees, keeps small businesses running. Used packaging is not just something to throw away. It is livelihood in Mathaya, in Kibra, in our estates and schools. Children are learning to separate packaging where it leaves their hands. Communities are cleaning rivers. Families are choosing bins instead of roadsides. When a child learns to sort packaging at school, they go home and teach their parents. That is how habits change. That is how communities stay cleaner. It's not just plastic bottles. Glass, cans, woven bags, and other materials are being collected and returned into the economy, step material by material. Kenya's recycling system is growing stronger. A cleaner Kenya is not one person's job. It takes households, it takes businesses, it takes collectors, it takes all of us. PAKPRO supports the system that connects us. When you sort your packaging, when you return a bottle, when you use GreenBuddy to find a recycling point, you are part of it.
Thank you, Charity. I hope that gives a snapshot in terms of what does the PRO do to ensure that you are compliant and that we are actually recovering all your product across the country. So I'm going to welcome Sydney, and as he sets up, I'll take the question from someone had their hand. Their name is on this call is written warehouse. So if you are able to, if your hand is still up, yes, kindly, you can ask your question as Sydney sets up. As yes, warehouse, you have the floor, then we can go back to Bernard. If you can unmute yourself. Okay. As we wait for warehouse, Bernard, you can ask your question.
Not a new question, but a follow-up on what I'd asked initially, because I feel like I didn't capture in your point. I asked, we already have the annual, we paid for the annual certificates and compliance, and we have been issued with the certificates. But you said that we need to be getting other certificates on a monthly basis.
Yes.
So my question is, I didn't understand that bit. Are we also paying for those monthly certificates, or we need to submit the volume of plastic that we are putting into the market? Then that's it.
Correct. Now, when you join PAKPRO, you tell PAKPRO, this is my total annual estimated volume that I put into the market in the previous year. That allows you to, or allows us to classify you in the different tiers of companies, whether you're above 3,500 metric tons or you're below 500 metric tons as an SME. That is what allows us to determine your membership fees, which is what you're referring to as the annual membership fee. That's the first fee you pay. Secondly, you will pay monthly fees, and we will charge you an EPR fee rate based off how much volume you put, not only of plastic, but of all your products and or let me say all your packaging. So if you are a company, and I'll use the bottling company, you have PET bottles. So you need to declare to us your PET, the weight of the PET that you put, the weight of the closures that you put, the labels on the PET, the shrink wrap on the PET. Then we will charge you a particular rate per each of those materials. So, so the shrink wrap has a different rate, the PET has a different rate, the labels have a different rate, the closures have a different rate. Then you pay your monthly EPR fees and you get a clearance. So a clearance certificate for that month. So that is what is the money that actually runs the different take-back schemes you've seen in the video shared that allows us to move across the country in recovering your products and packaging. I hope that's clear. I don't know if Bernard has a question. Maybe you can just unmute him again. Are you good?
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I think it's well noted, but the challenge is that we were never told when we are registering with you that there will be monthly fee so that we plan our budgets. So I don't know why that oversight came, because it will be frustrating us as a business that there's an extra fee that we are not notified at the beginning of this venture. So I think we'll struggle on that bit.
Okay, apologies for that. And we will make sure that every entity that comes in understands the entire obligation that is required for you. So that's noted. But we will also reach out to you to see how we can align and help you comply. So I'll hand over to Sydney. I think the other question is on hold, and then we'll be taking in your questions. So kindly note we have a Q&A section. Please, as Sydney goes through the presentation and any other questions that have happened, that we will, that you should use that. Now, I've seen your question, Nelson. Kindly note that clearance certificates are a new venture. This is as of this year, we will be issuing out clearance certificates. So last year we gave out an annual clearance certificate, but now we will give out monthly clearance certificates. So it is also important for all of us to appreciate that this is the first year of mandatory enforcement and implementation. And so the authority will be issuing us their instructions on how they are going to ensure enforcement so that we can, and we will pass on that information to you as soon as we receive it. So please follow us, read the emails we send you. We also have a WhatsApp group where all of you are part of. If you're not part of that WhatsApp group, our team is going to post the link to join the WhatsApp group so that you can join it, so that you can receive faster updates. But we also send you emails, so kindly check that you do not, our emails don't go to spam or they don't go into your junk mail, and that you're able to see the notifications that we send to you. Over to you, Sydney.
Thank you, Gathoni. Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Maybe we can also get to see you. Many people have talked to you on the phone and have not met you. And then if you could put projector mode, that would be good.
No problem. I think my camera is on, but let me just check.
Thank you. We can see you.
Okay. Thank you. So, just okay. Is everybody able to see?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. So today I just wanted to go through a brief overview of a PRO. I'm sure there's some of us whom we're still wondering what is the role of a PRO in this EPR system? Why do I need a PRO? How does a PRO, is the PRO serving my interest, or is it serving the government's interest? So I then, in coming up with the presentation, I thought of breaking it down into 3 pillars so that we can understand the perspective of a PRO towards the producer, a PRO towards the rest of the waste value chain, and also the PRO's role towards the regulatory authority, which is NEMA. And so basically, we do play a crucial role in this sustainable waste management system, whereby we're able to connect different parties within this loop. So whether it is the producers and the producer by definition is anybody who's introducing a product or packaging into the market. Therefore, we're able to then connect not only so we're able to connect producers, the regulator, the waste value chain all together, and we as a focal point are able to share either its challenges with regards to packaging, any feedback, or even guide in terms of coming up with policies that are much more favorable to all parties involved. And therefore, our core function is to be able to promote circular economy through EPR initiatives. So, as earlier mentioned, I did say that I broke down the role into 3 pillars. So one is the role to producers. So one of the mandates that as a producer that you ought to do is to be able to one is to not only register with the authority, but is to be able to take measures in minimizing the environmental pollution of your product or packaging. And therefore, the regulation allows you to be able to fulfill your obligations either individually, if you want to go that route, or collectively through a compliance scheme. And therefore, because now when you become part of a PRO, then it becomes the PRO's mandate to be able to undertake the appropriate mechanisms and measures to address or take care of different packaging, depending on what members have declared within that scheme. Then how we then participate as a PRO in the value chain is that one is that we're able to coordinate collection. This is how one is through transport logistics. We do offer transport support, especially to aggregators or maybe to waste collectors, especially those ones who aren't able to deliver their materials on their own to the recycler. So we do support them. We also do from time to time try and help in terms of, especially if with the recent floods you've seen, this has been a huge impact, especially to the MRF centers, especially to those who want materials. So one way or another, we do try and see how we as a PRO can be able to help where one may seek assistance. Then another thing is the role to the regulator. So I know this then becomes a very touchy subject whereby one may wonder, okay, is the PRO for us, or is the PRO just an extended arm of the government? So if we look at the objective of the EPR system, is that the authority wants to be able to track the performance of the recycling the recycling performance of materials. They want to be able to know how much volume is moving per county. So at some point, even as a PRO, we are supposed to be able to track, we are supposed to be able to provide reports to not only the authority, but also to counties. Should they then need to know, okay, if let's say, for example, the county of Nakuru wants to know what is the most challenging material that they are facing in terms of waste. So because of the baseline data that we're able to gather through supporting, even in our Business Attacker program, we're able to collect this data. So through this data, then they're able to make decisions. So then again, you see there's a lot of aspect of data management that comes in. And I know waste management is a huge challenge in this country. So essentially, by this having this data, then is the authority is able to make informed decisions, whether in terms of policy, whether in terms of coming up with solutions, or even encouraging innovations, and that is also in terms of also investment. So should there then be a need to set up an MRF or a recycling plant? So based on the data that is available, then the government can make such informed decisions. Then, so one is that we do assist you in helping you execute your OP or extended producer responsibility obligations. And one of the obligations to be able to have a take back scheme. Now, so one of the things that we've been able to do and some ongoing projects that we have is that we are working with some of our producers to be able to help them in establishing take back schemes, so that then and also the expectation is that at some point everyone will be required to show at some point that they have some measures in place to be able to recover their packaging independently. But we as a PRO, we can be able to step in and assist you on that. Then in terms of managing compliance, so as those who have been with us, we've been able to give you not only regulatory updates, but we've been able to assist you in terms of completing your applications. This is the producer registration. Then also you have the licensing applications for those that are using flexible plastic packaging. So one is being able to also simplify for you the jargon surrounding the regulatory framework, being able to make the process much easier for you, even in terms of reporting. We try even to be able to support you in that, so that you're then, at the end of the day, we minimize the exposure that you may face from non-compliance. Then, in terms of supporting data, so we do support, so there are certain tools in terms of, okay, internally, as when you join us, we normally require you, one, is to be able to fill the annual volume declaration template. So the reason being is that we as your PRO, we are mandated to understand the baseline data of the different types of packaging we as an organization handle. So when you then declare your packaging, one, it does help us to be able to help you correctly categorize where each packaging material falls where. And I'm sure a lot of you, when you joined us, you didn't know that, there's something called an LDP film, or there's a BOPP film, or there are different types of, even glass, there's glass clear, glass colored, that categorization. So as you then join this APR ecosystem, then even for you, it becomes a learning experience. You're able to know as a producer or as a company, how much packaging you're introducing to the market, and then whether then you can take a step forward into ensuring whether you can either improve, design for improve the design for your packaging, so that it's much easier for at the recycling stage. And then also, in terms of coordinating of systems, so essentially in this system, we do work with not only transportation handler, waste transportation handlers, but we also do work with recyclers. So whenever members declare their monthly volumes, we then, based on that, based on the total volume that members have declared, for example, if just an example, for example, PET, if then the members in a portfolio who handle PET have declared about 3 tons of packaging, then what happens is that, one, at the recycler level, because it's very difficult to then go and give the waste pickers or the aggregators money, we then do this at the recycler level. So how we then do this is that we do it through recycling subsidies. So for example, for PET, it's about 2.5 shillings. So 2 shillings goes to the aggregator, and 0.5 shillings goes to supporting the operations of the recycler, so that to ensure the continuity of their business. Now, for the 2 shillings that goes to the aggregator, this ensures that the price of materials is stabilized, such that if tomorrow the recycler is only willing to buy the PET post-packaging bottles for only 36 shillings, okay, let me not say 30, but let's say 28 shillings, and the market price is 36. So we always then try to find how we can subsidize that so that it's still attractive to the aggregator, so that they see that there's still value in the material that they're collecting. And although obviously previous concerns have been raised, is that it's that it may not be a perfect system, but at least at some points we do try and find what's the best mechanism to be able to recover your post-consumer packaging, so that then there are also national targets that are set. So one of our mandate is to be able to ensure that even in our recovery process, we're able to work towards achieving the national targets. And NEMA, through the reporting that we'll be doing, is that they'll be checking to see the performance against these national targets. So therefore, that then guides them as to whether is the EPR system working, where are there challenges, where are there loopholes, what can be improved. And then also this also guides in terms of data, and also understanding then for your packaging material, if at the recycler level, they're having a huge challenge in recycling your material, then that feedback can then guide into your design process. And therefore, we're able to help you come up with better design for recycling packaging. Then, so as I earlier mentioned, that you can either delegate individually or no, you can either do it individually. So that means you have to engage different, you have to get into recycling contracts, not waste, you have to get into contracts with waste service providers. You have to show how you're going to manage and recover your packaging from across all 47 counties. You have to ensure that you have to show that you can be able to do it. And therefore, because it can be a huge strain to do it individually, then we always then recommend the choice of joining a PRO. Now, where the PRO may not be, so where you may have unique packaging, or maybe let's say that PRO isn't in existence yet, then you are encouraged to join an existing one to manage your, at least for the packaging that can be handled by that PRO. Then the role in waste value chain. So as I said, we do play a huge role in terms of coordinating waste collection. So this one may not necessarily be in terms of like house, we don't deal necessarily with factory waste. We don't do it direct collection, but where we then support is that either at whether if aggregator has materials or maybe a waste collector has collected materials and they need then assistance in the collection and delivery of the same, we do support with that. And then we do work with various recyclers. So not all recyclers handle all materials. So different recyclers handle different materials because their machineries are only able to handle certain type of packaging materials. So there are those that handle PET, those ones that handle the laminates, those ones that handle paper, glass. And I'm sure some of you have been able to interact with some of these recyclers. Then another thing is also supporting market development. So for secondary raw materials. So this is also where we then look for markets where there may be a challenge. For example, a case in point, you find that for synthetic fuel, which is made from laminates, so by Alternative Energy, we can then encourage members to then consider that as for their in-house factory fuel. So this then encourages even recyclers to be able to continue and also be in business. Then another thing is also promoting innovations. So I'm sure you've seen, we've had circular economy initiatives, circular economy forums, but we've also gone to the step forward to recognize those who have taken a step further, either to lightweight their packaging or even to remove some bits of problematic plastics. So I'm sure you've seen for PET bottles, there's some that those that know for a lot of brands, you've seen they no longer use the shrink wrap at the top. Shrink sleeve. Sorry, the shrink sleeve at the top. Then there are those who have changed the color of their bottles. There are those who have decided, who have made their packaging lighter. So we do acknowledge those who are taking an active step to be able to make their products much better for the environment. Then let me continue next. So our role to the regulators. So one is that we are required to submit work plans. So our annual work plan, so it outlines the strategies and goals for compliance. So this shows us how we are going to be able to recover materials, who we are engaging to be able to fill this. And then another thing is providing data. So of course, this is regards to the packaging material, as opposed to how much, like let's say company A has released this packaging into the market. So we try to then aggregate that data. So then also another thing then is expected of us at some point is that we need to be able to track materials. So we need to be able to know this materials come from this country or this area. It has gone here, and this is where it has ended up. So eventually, the long-term goal of EPR is to be able to have that tracking of materials and be able to have the data so that at the national level, we then know how much materials, how much volume for different materials is moving across all 47 counties. So we do then have to then report quantities regularly to NEMA based on the quantities that have been collected, recycled, and recovered, which then allows us to demonstrate the effectiveness in meeting targets and compliance with national recycling initiatives. As I mentioned before, in supporting traceability within the waste value chain. So although it may be even a challenge globally, it doesn't stop us from trying to find out or try to brainstorm solutions to how we can be able to track materials within our country. Then so in this case, you find that in this system, the PRO is very crucial in enabling the EPR to work. One is ensuring that producers are compliant, also in terms of encouraging circular economy initiatives, encouraging producers, also engaging the public in terms of consumer awareness to start rethinking about waste. Not only, so it's not just solely the responsibility of the producer, but also we then start to try and engage the consumer to help them understand that, hey, this bottle that you're using, this bag that you're using, this box that you're using, it still has value. So trying to shift the mindset of encouraging people to understand their waste still has value. Therefore, then how then they dispose waste, they start becoming more conscious. People don't start to just throw stuff around. Then also this then encourages even the government to set up systems in terms of ensuring that the segregated bins are set up around towns. So then this then slowly, then the mindset shifts. People start now to become more conscious that, hey, I need to be able to ensure that the packaging that I'm even from using or selling or even designing is more sustainable and more environmental friendly, and also it's easily recyclable. So of course there are those instances where of course not everything is perfect, but we always try to ensure that is there something that we can still, is there a more efficient way of doing things? Is there still a way that we can be able to improve an existing process? Then next step, so exploring partnerships. So one is that we do welcome partnerships. So we do acknowledge that, it's not a one-man team. You do require different participations, different expertise, different engagements and support from different parties within the waste value chain. So this could be research partners, recycling partners, investment institutions, healthcare, hotels, so many stuff. So in this, so there are different ways where different players can play within this APR ecosystem. So we are always looking to have new partnerships so that we can even improve our service delivery. Then understanding obligations. So at a personal level, we always try to ensure that you then have an understanding of what the regulations are, what the Sustainable Waste Management Act is, what the EPR regulation is, what is the obligations, what is the obligations of the PRO, and also in ensuring that then you understand that why then do we declare, what is the end goal? Is it just money, or is it a move towards understanding that how can we then track, or how can we then have the data on how much volume is moving across all counties, which then guides decision making at a crucial level, and then supporting initiatives. So whether it's engaging in circular economy projects, so I'm sure some have been already been reached out, especially for some projects that you're already doing. And in case any of our guys reach out to you, support a project that we are currently engaging in, we always feel free to engage with them and see how we can exchange value, so that it's not just to us benefiting, but also you benefiting at the end of the day. Then I think lastly, so for those that maybe haven't, you can always have a look at our website. So on our website, we have, in case you need assistance on knowing how to go about registration, there's a section for membership where you then there's an onboarding form where you can fill the form. Then we also do have the steps, the guidance on how to go about your application on the website. So in case you're not sure of how to do your producer registration or your plastic clearance, you can always go to our website and see the steps.